once I get towards the end of a book, especially a physical book, I start getting anxious, and I'm not gonna lie, my eyes start jumping across the page and I get to skimming. Hey, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to episode 3 of my alphabet challenge. Guess what? I'm actually supposed to be working on the second video, which contains F, G, H, I, J. But where I'm at with what I'm reading right now, I really wanted to read Killer House Party, which I got the book to put in this video, so I might as well start this video. So letter K, as I said, Killer House Party. This is by Lily Anderson. I'm reading this and I'm like, this would have been the perfect pick for the Black Horror Readathon. So if you are participating in it, this is a good option. The author is Afro-Puerto Rican. Well, shoots, I forgot. It's on her page. Probably the month where you choose what you want to read. But this would have been perfect for January because this has to do with a haunted house. So this is about a haunted house. So we have a girl named Arden. I feel so bad for Arden. Arden is about to graduate from high school. Where I'm at, she's already graduated. And her parents let her know that she will most likely have to defer from university for maybe a year, most likely 2 years, because they have spent her college money. Yeah, they're going through some kind of divorce, and they said something about arbitration, arbitrary, whatever. They're basically suing each other because they're both in real estate and they work together. It was a family-owned business or whatever, partnership. And one of the houses that they own is this haunted manor. I felt so bad for her because that's how we're first introduced to her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that must suck really bad. Because she needs money, she's gonna let her friends know what's going on in her life. And they're like, you know, if only we could do something, you know, to raise money or something. And they're like, yeah, you know, a party, you know, we're graduating like tomorrow or within a couple of days. You know, everyone's getting graduation money. Just choose one of the houses that your parents have the keys to because they have the keys to all of them. So she's like, well, I have the best one in town. Arden decides she's gonna throw the party at the haunted manor. This manor or mansion, whatever, is considered haunted because I don't know how many years ago. That's actually what we first get. It's not even a chapter, but it's pages, something in black. I don't remember how, was this in the 1900s? I don't know. But it was a family of 5, 2 parents, 3 kids. One by one, the kids start dropping like flies. The first one goes, the second one goes, the third one decides to commit suicide because they knew they were next. Right after that person kills themselves, the parents summon the devil or something, and they let her know, y'all are cursed. So in order to break this curse, one of y'all, so the parents, has to decide which one of y'all do you want to die. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. The myth goes that, well, there's different kinds of myths, but as far as like the beginning of the book, they just never left the house. Now, mind you, this was years ago. So they're dead, but where are they? Because there's no dead bodies in the house. Now, again, there's different kinds of myths apparently because one of Arden's friends, it shows like her version of the story. That's one of her friends. That's Maddie Mae. And she has another friend named, I forgot. No, not Hannah. And Remy. Hold on, I'm thirsty. So yeah, so she decides to throw a party at the manor and she's gonna charge. Y'all, they charging them $100. $100. That's insane for a party. But again, this is haunted. Nobody has been in this place before. It does say in the synopsis that each of the 3 friends have their own reason for wanting to throw the party, because I did say this is Arden's party, but it's kind of all 3 of them. They, you know, thought about doing it together. They're hosting it together. However, I don't know if everyone's gonna make it out alive because the doors are locked. And I actually just got there. I'm on page 70 and I'm enjoying it. It's really not that long. It's like 280 something pages. So the story started off really good. We immediately jump into it. By chapter 3, they setting up for the party. This is going a little fast. And then I started wondering, is the book too short? But then as I'm reading it, I was kind of getting antsy. And then I was like, I feel like the book is going to be too long because it feels like we're dragging out a scene. Specifically, it was a scene where Maddie Mae, Remy, and Arden are all getting ready for the party in the manor. It was just kind of going on. And then there's also a part because our FMC Arden is fat. Why are their cars just lined up? Anyway, And she was kind of going on and on about, I don't know why I'm thinking about pretty privilege. I just watched a YouTube video about that. What was she saying? But she was going on and on about being fat, basically. Oh yeah, look, I got to it. Oh, so actually we get 2 scenes about her being fat. There's one where as they're getting ready, I don't remember, I guess it was Maddie May. Maddie May just kind of makes the comment, oh, you know, are you just gonna wear what you're wearing? Not realizing that, well, whatever you brought, I can't fit into it anyway. So like, you're not thinking. And then she starts talking about it there. And then at the party, someone asks, you're still gonna be a doctor, right? Or whatever. And then she starts going on about why she wants to be a doctor. Do I need to say why? Let me find it. Basically to protect other fat people from the medical system, especially kids, you know, whose parents like put them on Weight Watchers. That was very aggressive. On Weight Watchers. Which, did anyone else used to go with their parent to the meetings? I used to go. She goes on and on about that, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, that's fine. I don't mind that in the book. But at the same time, I think, honestly, I was getting antsy. Because I'm like, let's get into it. Because I already know the book is not that long. We're already about to use 5 pages to talk about Weight Watchers and being fat. I feel like the rest of the story is gonna have to go faster or something, but honestly I think I was just getting antsy. Now where I'm at, I'm having a good time. I'm on page 70, chapter 8. I just got there. The first thing has already happened. Let me get this out the way. I did read, they may or may not all come out alive. It doesn't specify as to whether or not people are gonna be killed. Now my brain is already starting to spin because now I'm thinking about what could be going on. I have 2 things. Number 1, this could take a speculative twist where it really is the family or whatnot. I'm really leaning towards someone doing this. We've already gotten the first thingamabob. So Maddie May was supposed to be watching the door and collecting money. She's gone. We don't know where she's at. In my head, I'm like, oh, she might be dead. There was a guy named Tanner. Apparently Tanner likes Maddie May, but he actually brought someone else. Her name is Hannah. Hannah don't want to be there. And we learned that because someone's like trying to push the door because they're all in the mansion. And that's Hannah. Hannah cannot get out of the house. The door is closed. There's no opening it. Oh my gosh, we already got our first like gross description. And it's her at some point getting tired and just like using her nails. Oh my gosh, and it was like bloody and whatever. Door won't open. And then all of a sudden there's blood just dripping. And there's words saying, stay here, stay here. Now, mind you, Arden is not a believer. She does not believe in ghosts. She does not believe in spirits, all of that stuff. Very, very, very short update because I'm almost done. I'm on page 235 out of 295. I just wanted to say I am so confused as far as my rating goes right now. It's perfect for me to give it a range, right? 3 to 4, 4 to 5. That I don't even know. I think I'm leaning more towards like 3.5 to 4.5-ish. The only reason I would want to rate it high is because I'm really enjoying it and it's super fast paced. But on the other hand, I'm almost done. So now we're about to start finding out information. I've already started finding out some information and it's confusing. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm dumb or what. It's making me feel dumb. The way it wraps up is honestly gonna be what determines my rating for the book. Hey y'all, hey. I just wanted to pop in and say that I have decided to continue this video. I went on a long hiatus. This was the only video that I had started that I actually wanted to continue. You're most likely looking at 25-year-old me in the first couple of clips. I am now 26. I turned 26 in June. Those clips are probably from like March or April. I ended up giving Killer House Party probably like a 3.5. Honestly, I have no final thoughts on it. Y'all know I forget the books right after I read them, and that one is from months ago. Now, on to the other letters in this video. This one is supposed to have K, L, M, N, and O. I actually did read N, so you will see that. I'm supposed to be talking about L. However, I don't know what to read. I had some stuff planned and I've kind of put those to the side. Let's look at what I have. I don't know if I have any books that start with L. So I thought about just starting M because I do have one for M. But let me just see.
AAPPTST. I read that one. What
Okay, I do have this one. The only thing that's turning me off about this book, Love in the Red Zone, look how small. Look at this font. What is this? But you know what? This is a sports romance. You know, I'm gonna take it down. I might try it out. I think that's the only L book I have. T-A-B-B-B-S-E-A-W-A-G-Q. What am I looking for? Oh, L. What am I looking for? L. And then my library books don't start with L. The book that I'm reading now doesn't start with L. So that's it as far as like what I have now. And you know what? I might want to try it out. The book that started with M, now that I just went through it, I do have another one. Okay, so I have this book called Malice. I think this is sapphic. The only thing is I don't know if this is a romance though, but I'm also not really in the mood for that. I wanted to try out reading Murder in the Family. I've just been reading so many white authors. I normally average about one white author a month, or that's what I tell myself, that I can read one, maybe two. I guess I've kind of changed my mind a little bit because I do own books by white authors, so that's what I've been reading. So I've been reading a lot more than I would like to. I like to prioritize my BIPOC authors. We'll see about this. I do have a book for O. I just have to get it from the library. It's time to wrap this video up. Now to y'all, this is only letter L, but for me, this is the second to last book that I need for this video. I read these books out of order because I want to read what I want to read, and I've been reading letter L and letter O simultaneously for over a week now, so it's time to wrap it up. Letter L is for Losing Sight. I don't remember what options I ended up saying I had. I scrapped all of those. This was always my #1 pick for letter L. I am on page 174, 175. I am past the halfway mark by now. So we have Tanika. Tanika, girl. Tanika is a sports reporter. She also goes by Nikki. I'm gonna call her Tanika because when she was kind of explaining how she even chose Nikki, it didn't feel like she wanted to, it felt like she needed to. So I'm gonna be calling her Tanika. She is a sports reporter, but she has just been demoted. Her demotion has a lot to do with colorism and ageism. You could also say racism because I feel like racism and colorism kind of go hand in hand. The woman that they end up getting to replace her, her name is Sarah. Now Sarah is a more ambiguous looking, she's younger, she's like in her early 20s or 25, I don't know. And she has replaced Tanika with doing the Thursday night sports, like football thing. I thought football was on Friday night, so I don't know what the Thursday is. I'm not into sports, so don't ask me. Don't ask me nothing. She's still working there, but she's doing like lacrosse. I think one of the excuses that the higher-ups are using about her demotion is that she's been messing up. She's not really reading the teleprompter. She needs to get her eyes checked. She refuses to go to the eye doctor until one night she's coming home from work. It's about 12 a.m. and she ends up getting into a car accident. She was driving on the wrong side of the road, so she swerves and she hits a fire hydrant. So she calls up her assistant, Mia, I think her name is, and she's like, yeah. No, Maya. I think it's Maya. She's like, yeah, go ahead and call that doctor, please. Because she's not only gonna hurt herself, she's gonna hurt someone else. So she goes and enters Gideon. Now Gideon is our MMC in here. He is an optometrist. They're actually both familiar with each other because they met through his cousin Jackie, and Jackie and Tanika are best friends. It wasn't the best first impression because they both didn't know about each other, and Jackie was kind of introducing them in the way of like get to know each other, not like on a friend level. And Gideon, oh, the sun's out. Gideon kind of runs away, but we find out that Gideon, I don't remember how many months before, maybe even years, I don't remember, but his wife Lauren died of ovarian cancer. So he just wasn't really ready to move on. Fast forward to today, I mean, it kind of feels like fate. I was so caught off by the magical realism in this book. Mind you, it says it on the back. It's at the very, very top. It says, what if a powerful pair of glasses let you see life and love clearly? These glasses that were chosen for her, she kind of is seeing things. Like, I think that her friend's Bronwyn tells her it's kind of like you're seeing people's aura. I would say the magical realism that's in here is the same amount as in instructions for dancing. Other thing that did catch me off guard as well is it's not a love triangle by any means, but there is another character in here who's kind of like vying for Tanika's attention, and that was kind of throwing me off because we're giving him a lot of attention. It's not like he's just written in passing. He's a part of a decent amount of the plot. I'm not worried because obviously Gideon is on the cover and she's kind of nipped it in the bud where I'm at. It wasn't written in the way that I was kind of interested in him anyway. Like, I would be rooting for him even though I know it's not a love triangle. There is some spice. Another thing that I'm really liking about this is that it does say a romantic comedy. And I love rom-coms, but sometimes I'm a bit iffy because I feel like when you mention and promote a book as being a comedy, even if it's part comedy, I'm gonna hold you to some high expectations. And I think sometimes the authors can go overboard and give too much humor that's borderline cheesy and corny. And I think this one has the perfect amount. Tanika goes to one of her friend's house, Bronwyn. She's the first one that she tells about the glasses. She's talking about her kids, Bronwyn's kids. And I'm like, girl, what are these names? Tiger Lily, Thyme, as in like the seasoning, Honeysuckle, Briarwood, Golden, Plum, and Periwinkle. Dale. And then when she first walks into the I forgot about that part. When Tanika first walks into Bronwyn's house and she's heading down the hall and she nearly screams when she reaches the living room because there's a man butt naked in downward dog, and that's Bronwyn's husband. He was doing like some yoga or something, like nude yoga. I'm determined to finish this today. It is 304 pages. 304 pages, I'm not even on page 200. How am I gonna finish this? First of all, calm down. Hold on, y'all. Okay. Because why am I getting so turned up about this? But I'm not even on page 200. So you know what I might do? I might put me some stickies. I wanted to quickly show you guys how I just sectioned it. I just did this now using some of my tabs. I went ahead and put one on page 200, which is chapter 28. And then I was going to do like 50, so 250 and then 300. But that's only giving me 2 more goals because again, it's like 304 pages. So in order for me to look forward to something, I put 3 more. I put one on page 226, chapter 33, chapter 37, page 251, and then I put my last goal on page 280, which is in a chapter. I am so tired, y'all, but I did come back with my final thoughts on letter L. I will also be talking about my final thoughts of letter O once you get to letter O, but that's why I'm wearing the same thing. I was able to finish letter L that same day, and then the next day I finished letter O. In fact, I'm not planning on using these tabs and I was gonna give them away, but I found the perfect use for them. This is the book that I'm currently reading. I just started it. I need to put my bookmark in it. I'm on page 34, but I went ahead and tabbed the top. I mean, it's a library book, so I can't really tab it like to keep the tabs in anyway, but I went ahead and tabbed it in increments of 50. Well, approximately 50. I do have my notes so I don't get distracted. I ended up giving this a 3.75. One thing that I didn't mention earlier is that the book is a little repetitive. For example, mind you, I still remember the characters' names. I'm gonna keep saying that. I think I said it in another video. Gideon was married and he works with Celeste. Celeste is his sister-in-law. There were about 3 scenes when Gideon doesn't really want to talk about his relationship with Tanika, but Celeste is like pushing for the details. She doesn't care if it's spicy, and he kind of mentions like, this feels wrong, like you're my wife's sister, what are we doing? And Celeste is like, it's fine, like you need to find love. And it was just this conversation that happened multiple times, and I noticed. Personally, I don't really read that many books with miscommunication, so I really have no complaints about that trope. Same with like the 3rd act breakup. I'm just mentioning that in general, but like 3rd act breakups, miscommunications, secret baby trope, like I don't really read many books with that, so I can't complain. I can't be like, oh, like I hate that, like if it's in there I'm DNFing. I have no thoughts on it because I rarely read it, to be honest. I say all that to say that the drama that happens towards the end, please get it together. Get with the program, please, both of y'all, because what are we doing? In one of my previous clips, I had wanted to mention about one of the things that I love about older romances with characters like 40 plus. I don't need to stress, you know what I mean? They're grown adults. They're not just adults, they're grown adults. Girl, I'm glad I never mentioned that because I would have been mistaken, okay? But what I did enjoy about that drama that was going on was it kept me engaged, because once I get towards the end of a book, especially a physical book, I start getting anxious, and I'm not gonna lie, my eyes start jumping across the page and I get to skimming, okay? But with this drama, I was here for it. Letter M, I did decide to continue with Murder in the Family. I'm not that far into it. I am on page 52, 53. This is a very interesting format of a book. So this is written like one of those mini true crime docu-series. This is going to be 8 episodes. This is following a cold case that is about 20 years old. Back in December of 2003, there's a guy named Luke who was bludgeoned to death. He was 26, and at the time he was babysitting his stepson, Guy. His name is Guy. I actually know a guy whose name is Guy. Anyway, he's 10. Now, the way that Guy, because he's older, and actually, let me say this first, even though I probably shouldn't because I've already forgotten what I wanted to say before that, but Guy is kind of the reason why this show is being created. He was 10 at the time, and I just don't remember if it was his idea for this show to, technically the case was never closed, but to kind of try and see what happened, try and figure it out, or if the creator of the show went to him and was like, hey, we know that this is a cold case, but we would like to kind of open it back up in a sense. Luke was babysitting him. It's not until his 2 older sisters, Mara, who is 15, and Amelie, who is 13, they come back home from like the movies and they call for help. They call 999. This takes place in the UK, by the way. And they never find the weapon. They don't find who did it. It just goes cold. Obviously, people assume that it was the wife, Caroline, who did it. Now, Caroline was about 20 years older than Luke. Not that far into it, but I have gotten to a part of like how they met. So I'm curious how that's gonna go. Like, I just know that this person is gonna play a part in this book. Now, Caroline has an interesting story. She was married before. She was married to someone else. I don't remember his name. I really don't think it's important either, but I could be wrong. Maybe it is. But she was married prior. She was actually the live-in nanny. And then his wife goes. She dies or is killed. They said it, I don't remember. And then she becomes the wife. Now, he also had a son with that other woman, like with his original wife. And his name is Rupert. Mara, Amelie, and Guy all have a half-brother. And Caroline had a stepson. I think he's gonna play a part in this book. I'm gonna have to scour the evidence, but I think so. At the beginning of this book, I almost wanted to DNF because I wasn't really into like the first couple of pages because it introduces you to the show. And that's how it starts. So we have the case. This is like the very first thing that you see, and this is the introduction to the show. What you would expect to see on TV, like on the ID channel, is what's in this book. And then we start getting into the different people that are gonna be helping with the case. So we have the retired police officer who at the time I think was on the scene. We have a journalist, a clinical psychologist, forensic psychologists, people like that. And I think they each individually bring something different to the table. And I wasn't really into it. I was just I kind of skimmed some of this stuff. It was just a lot of people. I'm not interested. But then we finally get into the story, and this is episode 1. So episode 1 is also titled Filming, which as if we're watching it on TV. We see the interview. That's majority of the book. So yeah, it's not a traditional book like this where it's written like that, but it's not all just evidence either. What we do get is this, and it's a script basically, and it's so descriptive. Like if you were to go and turn this into a show yourself, like you could. It literally tells you how the person is sitting, what they're wearing, are they fidgeting as they speak. It tells you everything. The only thing that I'm kind of nervous about is whether or not I'm gonna be into the actual case. This is all interesting to read because I haven't really read something like this before. But what about the case? What about the meat of the book? Am I gonna like that? Am I gonna like how it unfolds? Am I gonna be able to figure it out? You know, right now I have no thoughts. Nothing up here. As far as what may have happened, I mean, I'm only 52, 53 pages in. See, and they even have a picture of how the guy was hurt. What ends up happening, as far as I can see, is when you get to the end of the episode, it'll say like episode 1 and then it says broadcast. And then like I'm in a classroom. Okay. And then it looks like I don't want to look too much into it, but it's almost like they maybe summarize something. It looks like they have a news clipping here. Is this from 2023? Is this something that's just being written now? Or is it from like 2003 at the time? I don't know. I don't want to look at it just yet. And then right here, I just kind of glanced really quickly. That looks like it could be maybe comments from viewers. And then we get into episode 2 and we go back to the drawing board basically. I wasn't gonna come on here and update because I wanted to get a little further into it, but I was talking to myself like I always do, pretending like I'm filming and I'm famous and doing an interview. And I was like, you know what? I do have some things to say. I am on page 138, 139. I'm on episode 3 now. What I assumed I saw was right. At the end of the episode, we'll get a newspaper clipping about the show, kind of like summarizing, almost as if someone watched the show themselves and they're writing the piece. And I don't even know if it says who. I don't know. I don't really care. And then we do get some comments from people watching the show. The biggest thing, the date is wrong on the back. And watch them be loud and wrong. The back says, in December 2003, Luke Ryder, the stepfather of acclaimed yada yada yada, was found dead in the garden of their suburban yada yada yada. He died in October of 2003. I thought I was going crazy. Let me see. I thought I bookmarked it. Dang. We text each other a lot. Hey, my girl, she loves me. Have y'all, I don't know what y'all For You page on TikTok is showing. Why did Mindless Behavior do so many acapella videos? Okay, here it is. So, now back to the book. So on page 67, this is episode 1 because episode 2 I think starts around 80 something. They showed the body, the picture of the body, I guess. When I was like really analyzing it, at first I thought it said April 10th of 2003, but then I was like, hold up, this is not the US. They're probably doing day, month, year. So this is October 4th. And then I was like, why would that be October 4th? Then I'm like, okay, maybe December is before October. I know it's not. I don't know where they got December from and put it on the back, but the crime happened in October of 2003. I did kind of write some notes on like how the book is going. So episode 1, we were just focused on introducing the case. Episode 2 picks up from a little cliffhanger that we got from episode 1. I'm not gonna say it was like a I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. We have a suspect that's introduced, and we focused really on Caroline, the wife of Luke, like learning her backstory. Episode 3, I've just started. I am on page 3 of episode 3. And it seems like we're gonna focus on, I think we're focusing on Ruben. Ruben, is his name Ruben? Rupert. His name is Rupert. Rupert, who is Caroline's stepson, and the husband's name is Andrew. And I still don't know what happened to Andrew. That's Guy, Maura, and Amelie's dad, and that's Rupert's dad. Rupert. Whatever. I still don't know if I just glazed over it or what. I don't know what happened to Andrew. But Caroline, I thought she was dead. She's not dead. Supposedly, she has dementia? It said it. Something with her memory. Like she doesn't have that good memory anymore. I'm having a fun time reading this because of how it's written. Like the format, the layout of the book. The case itself, I'm not really entertained. I don't really care about it. And maybe it could be we're still at a point where they're not really discovering anything new. The one thing that they discovered, knock on wood, but well, I don't have no wood. Not really a spoiler because I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere. Maura, who's 15, well, she was 15 at the time, the oldest daughter, did say that the younger sister, Amelie, who was 13 at the time, did catch the mom, Caroline, cheating on Luke. She didn't actually see, but she heard the noise and she knew that it wasn't Luke because he wasn't there. Like, he was somewhere else. Like, they knew he was going out of town, or I don't know if they say that in the UK, out of town. So I mean, that's the only new discovery that they made. But as far as like the case itself, like the suspects and stuff, they've really just been going over what the initial detectives and investigators did in 2003 and almost debunking that. Oh, my thoughts on who did it, y'all. This is why I should have written it down. I think I did mention yesterday that while I was in episode 1, I didn't really have any guesses, but I do have 2 guesses, okay? It hasn't really changed necessarily. These aren't guesses that I believe in 100%, but I can't not have a guess. first is that Rupert did it, because Rupert is the reason why Luke and Caroline even met. The reason why, I have no idea. Or I thought because he's young and the oldest daughter would have been 15. So I'm wondering, what if this took an even more, because you know, I'm thinking all kind of things. Maybe it's gonna take a sinister turn. Maybe Luke was doing something with Mara or Amelie, who was 13, and he got caught and got kaput. I hope I'm not let down at the end. I'm gonna give this a 3-star. I don't remember where I last left off, but I was trying to keep track what each episode had. I stopped after episode 4. I was not interested in keeping track of that anymore. I think I spoke about episode 1 and 2. Episode 2 does not leave on a cliffhanger. Episode 3 does, and I think overall episode 3 was my favorite because of the cliffhanger it had. And I believe when I spoke about the cliffhanger from episode 1, I was like, it wasn't shocking. Like, not that it wasn't shocking, but I didn't really care. Episode 3, I swear when I read it, I kind of sat up in bed and I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. And then episode 4, we continue where episode 3 ended. We learn more about the kids. Yeah, that's kind of all I kept track. 5, 6, 7, and 8. I don't really care. It kind of got blurry after that because the cliffhanger from episode 3 was so huge. It literally changed the whole direction of the story. It went a completely different direction than where it was going in the first place. I really enjoyed reading the book because of the format of it, but the case itself, I didn't really care. I will give the author credit for trying to think outside of the box. However, I think she thought too much out of the box that I was able to actually guess who did it. Now, I'm not going to say like that was my final guess, but the person who did it was one of my guesses. So I wasn't that shocked, to be honest. But the story was just so far-fetched when you really think about it. Like, all the different directions that we went just to kind of get back to this. And I'm not gonna lie, I clocked it episode 1. I'm not gonna say how or why, but I clocked what was a big chunk of the book at the end from episode 1. Now, I'm about to get into spoiler territory because I just want to mention 2 characters who I was so surprised was not a part of the guilty party. Like, they didn't do anything. So I'll put a timestamp of when you can skip to if you want to read this. The first character is Rupert. Rupert is Caroline's stepson. He was Andrew's son, and he was the best friend or friend of Luke, the guy who was murdered. I'm so surprised he had nothing to do with it. In fact, at some point, we just stopped mentioning him, and it wasn't until the end when I was kind of thinking of who all I thought did it, and I'm like, wait a minute, where's Rupert? We just stopped mentioning Rupert at some point. I was so shocked. The biggest person though, the biggest character who I'm like, I'm so surprised they were not guilty of something, is Nick. Now, I don't think I ever mentioned him, but he is the producer of the show. He's the one who's like in charge of the whole show. What I did like about his character is that the way he was written, I think felt authentic, because at the end of the day, this is a show. He was definitely a villain in that aspect. I don't truly think the people who were a part of this documentary, the forensic psychologist, the lawyer, the detective, I don't think they actually figured out the case. I'm not gonna say why I think that, because that's definitely getting into spoiler territory. And it was really just them at a table talking. Yeah, they would go out and they would travel and interview people who are part of Luke's life. They were just messing around, honestly. When I really think back on it, I'm gonna give this a 3. I'll probably give this to the library. I don't need to have it on my shelf. I'm glad I read it though. Letter N is for the next best fling. When I started this series, I vowed that for the alphabets that I was gonna pick books that had like a word that started with the letter, not like the da 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 da, a da 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 da. But we're making an exception, okay? I wanted to read this and I thought that this would be perfect for this video because it does obviously start with an N, like the second word. And plus, the way that libraries shelve these, they don't shelve the books by the or a, you know what I mean? They go with the next word. So that's why I'm gonna be using this one. This is an adult romance. Listen, I already have thoughts. I am 112 pages into it. It's like an average sized romance, like 350 pages, maybe a little maybe I'll say 360. I have some thoughts. I can already tell you that this book is not going to be a 5-star, but I'll tell you why. So the main trope in here is the fake dating trope. I'm sure you can find video evidence of me saying that I don't like the fake dating trope anymore, which that was probably accurate at the time, but of course things change, feelings change, and I'm kind of back into it. So we have Theo and Marcella. Marcella is in love with her best friend, Ben. Ben is engaged, or at least he gets engaged at the beginning of this book. So there's no hope. It's not like he's he is newly engaged, but who he's engaged to, they've been together for 9 years or 8 years. She just hasn't gotten over it. And then we have Theo. Theo is the older brother of Ben, and he is in love with Alice. Alice is Ben's fiance. Let that sink in. The first big for me is that this is like an accidental fake dating. Both Theo and Marcella, well, first of all, they have an event to go to. It's the engagement party, and over there Marcella actually overhears Theo talking to himself because he's trying to pep himself up to go, I don't want to say break up the engagement, but just kind of tell Alice to hold off on it. Like, he just wants to see if there was anything there with them. Marcella stops him and they go to her place because he was drunk as a skunk. The next morning, they had this engagement brunch to go to. They have so many different engagement events that they've been doing for Ben and Alice. However, they're both late and they walked in together, and I believe it's Ben's dad that kind of makes the comment of like, oh, like they were together, and it's also Theo's dad, but I don't remember if it's Marcella or Theo that try to like say like, no, like that's not true, but they get interrupted, so they just go with the flow, and so that's why they kind of get into this accidental fake dating. Now, where it also goes wrong for me, because although fake dating is a trope that I like, there are certain instances that I don't like it. Like, I don't like that kind of plot. And for me, I like for the fake dating to build up, right? I like for them to fake date in public, and then in private they may have small moments, because obviously we need the moments because they will eventually get together. But with this book, they've already started having their big moments together in private, and it's like, y'all just got together, y'all just decided to go through with this, you know, like making out, and I just don't like that because it's gonna move too fast. So I can already tell you it's not gonna be a 5-star. I can already tell that what the climax might be, or the conflict, because Marcella knows that Theo is, or was, I guess is, into Alice. Theo still has no idea that one of the reasons why Marcella is gonna go through with it is because she is also in love with Ben, so he doesn't know that. So I think that that's going to play a role in the conflict. Another thing that I don't like that's kind of working against the book is this is first person, but we're only getting Marcella's POV. That's fine. I've read it before, but when I'm able to notice that we're only getting one person, I never like that in a romance. And knowing that, because I went on the author's Instagram page and they were, you know, obviously promoting the book, and they put like the little tropes that are in it, and one of them is that he falls first, and it's like, I would prefer to be in his point of view when he falls first rather than seeing it from her point of view. It would be better if maybe this was third person, because we would still kind of get that, but it's not, it's first person. I've read books where I don't even notice it was one person until I'm at the end of the book, but because I was able to notice so quick, it's gonna work against the book in my opinion. I mean, I could definitely see me maybe giving this a 4-star, but I don't know. Okay, I've come back with my final thoughts on the next best fling. I do have some notes right here. I've already done my review for it, but I feel like I want to say more things than what I wrote, if that makes sense, like filler stuff that would just make more sense in this video. First things first, I can definitely tell that I've gotten pickier about romance. It's not that I haven't always been, because I think for the past year I've been very picky, but this is kind of my first time coming to terms with that. I just can't let everything slide. I was wrong about what this was, and it's in the title. This is definitely a mixture of fake dating and a fling. They're fake dating in public, which, did they really? But they use that, and in private they're having a fling. And at least the good thing that I will say is that the fling that they were having was in order to get over Ben and Alice. It's not like they were using the fling to make Ben and Alice jealous so that they would break off their engagement and get with them. Had it have gone like that, girl, I maybe would have DNF'd. No, I probably wouldn't have, because I would have known, I mean, they're not going to end up together anyway, but I would not have been a happy camper. But knowing that they were using each other to get over the other two, that was fine. However, it wasn't believable. And I'm sure I've read out-of-pocket books. What do you mean you're in love with your best friend? You find your best friend's brother, which, I mean, they didn't do it on purpose. But it just so happens that you're able to use your best friend's brother and your brother's best friend to not only try and get over them, but y'all end up falling in love. What? Like, that makes no sense. Like, that's just not believable. It is spicy. I'm lying. It does have spice. Personally, I skimmed both scenes. I wasn't interested in it. That's also telling me I wasn't really interested in them as a couple either. But another thing, and this is kind of very picky of me, I don't like when there's no initial attraction when they first meet. Even when it's an enemies to lovers, we know that the two characters are low-key attracted to each other. They just don't like each other. When we hear about how Theo and Marcella meet for the first time, it wasn't really a good impression. He didn't make a great impression on her, and that kind of turned me off. But I think that's just me being picky, which I get it. They were both blinded by their love for other people, and eventually, I mean, it's a romance. They do get together. In books, I also don't really like when books and reading are mentioned in the book. And which is stupid because this is a part of a series, and I believe the series is called like The Librarians or something, because Marcella is a librarian, and I believe the second book is her best friend, I'm assuming, and she is also a librarian. They both work in the library. I didn't mind the reading aspect in this book. She's a librarian, she reads. That was actually some of my favorite parts, when she's working at the library and Theo does go over. Oh, that leads me to something else, my last thing. Yeah. So, my rating, duh. I ended up giving this a 3.5. I was actually adamant on giving it a 3-star, and then I got to like the last 110 pages and it started to get a little messier. Will I read the second book? I don't know. I could not wait to talk to y'all about letter O, which is for On Again, Awkward Again. So I'm gonna put up the picture of my mutual who simply posted about this book on her, I believe, Instagram stories. And I said that I'm gonna try and keep track of where I get book recommendations from. Mind you, she never read it. I think she was book shopping and she literally posted 2 books, which included this one, and was like, has anyone heard of this? Is it good? But I saw 2 non-white characters on the cover and I was like, I'm gonna read it. I didn't do any research on the book. I just added it and I saw that my library did have it, so I got it. I did start this today. Mind you, I read, let me get a bookmark now that I'm home. Girl, I don't have that many. I ended up reading 45 pages at work. Not only did I start this book today, I started it on my 15-minute break and my 30-minute lunch break at work. I did not read it like earlier this morning before I went into work. I haven't read it since I've been back, but I managed to read 45 pages. That's a lot. Not once on both of those breaks did I put this down and play on my phone. I read for the 15 minutes and well, not all of the 30 minutes, because I still have to walk there, but you get what I'm saying. I'm about to 100% contradict myself. Before I contradict myself, what is this about? This is essentially about Pacey and Cecil falling in love, and they're what you would call your stereotypical nerd. They fall for each other, literally love at first sight. I read right when I got in, because I still hadn't read what it was about, and I see at the bottom that they're gonna have to work together to plan the freshman dance. That's what it's about. It's not that long. Love it. Okay, so now let's get into contradicting myself. I always talk about hating cheesy books, corny books, especially in young adult. This has the perfect ingredients for a quote-unquote cheesy, corny book, because they're freshmen. They're incoming freshmen, okay? So I understand maybe, you know, as a senior, as a junior, you look at freshmen like, oh my gosh, how young. And you get older, right, like myself, and you look at all of high school as, y'all are awkward. Y'all are weird. But I think what's better about this is that they are freshmen. It's not like they're 16, 17 years old and they're trying so hard to be someone that they're not, or it's written by someone older who's been out of high school for 10 plus years and they write the characters very young. They're what, 14 years old in here? It's written perfectly for them. Imagine the guy or the girl that we used to see in school that would like run to their class, or the odd couple that's like always touchy-feely in the hallway. That's them, okay? But it's so awkwardly good, and I'm loving this so much. Had I read the synopsis, I would have already known that Cecil had IBS. I did not know that. He has IBS, and at first, you know, it was a little funny because that's exactly how you start his chapter. Chapter 1 is Pacey. Chapter 2 is Cecil. And I mean, his whole first chapter that we're introduced to him is talking about his IBS. And at first, you know, it was a little funny. But then he ends up eating some candy from this guy that's sitting next to him, and it had prunes in it. So now he has to go to the bathroom, okay? That's the end of his chapter. The next chapter, we get back into Pacey's POV. And Pacey's with the school nurse because she hurt herself. And then in barges Cecil. Now Cecil, we go back into his POV, and he's like struck with love. You know, he's very attracted to her. But let me see if I can find it. I'm sure it's probably chapter 4. Well, before that, so Pacey's chapter ends with Cecil busting through the door. When we go into chapter 4, we're back in Cecil's POV. So before he gets into the nurse's office, he's going everywhere because he has to use the bathroom. The first one he goes to, it has too many people in it. He doesn't want them to make fun of him. So he goes somewhere else, but it's closed. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is pitiful. Like, I feel sorry for him, you know? That's not a good feeling at all. I'm not that far into it, obviously, but I think this is the perfect book for the younger end of young adult. With that being said, I most likely won't give this a 5-star, but if I were younger, I think I would eat this book up even more. I gave this a 3-star. Listen, I spoke way too soon when I was all hee ha ha about how I'm loving it. It wasn't bad, but let me tell you, the awkwardness, the cheesiness, the corniness, I don't even know if that's a word. It got old quickly. I swear to you. Whatever clip that I filmed right before this talking about this book, like, I love it so much. I swear to you, the next time I picked this book up, I was exhausted. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I might have to DNF. But here's the odd thing. There were many scenes where it's like, okay, this is kind of cute, like in their own way. And I did find those parts enjoyable overall, which is why I'm gonna give it like a good 3-star, not like a 3-star going on a 2. It's not going on a 4-star, but it's like a positive 3-star. But I love that the characters were authentically themselves. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, like they're 17 years old, like y'all should be acting a little more grown up than that. Mind you, they're like 14. Had me saying in my head, like, of course that would happen to them. I'm telling you, it was almost like reading, I'm not even gonna say it. Don't even know if I would have enjoyed this if I were younger. I say that a lot about YA books, like, oh, I'm gonna give it a 3, like it wasn't bad, but I think I would have enjoyed it more if I were younger, if I were 14, if I were 16, if I were 10. I don't think I would have enjoyed this. I think I'm enjoying it more now because I am older, and I feel like being older, of course, they're not like, they're still kids, but they're not like 8. It's kind of like I'm expecting that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Enough of that. I'm so glad to be done with this video. This video I've been working on since March, April, June. If you reach the end of this video, comment down below this word, not emoji, word, and I'll see you next week.